Don't move. My voice cut through the darkness like a knife. Catherine Sterling froze one hand, clutching a Ziploc bag of white powder, the other hovering over a raw steak she'd just placed in the kitchen door. She wore a bright red silk robe, designer slippers, and the usual panic that comes with realizing you've been caught doing something unforgivable. Beside me, Havoc, my 70-pound Belgian Malinois, DEA dog, federal asset, and the best companion I've ever had, growled so hard it seemed to shake the floor. His gaze was laser-like on Catherine. Every muscle in his body was coiled, ready. She turned slowly, face illuminated by the motion sensor light I'd installed 3 days ago. Her perfectly styled auburn hair caught the glow. Her red lips parted in a gasp. I was just... Havoc barked once, sharp, commanding, the sound a trained assault dog makes when marking a threat. Catherine screamed and bolted designer slippers skidding on tile, silk robe flapping as she stumbled through my back door into the yard. Havoc lunged forward, not attacking, hurting. Driving her away from the poisoned meat with the precision of 8 years detecting narcotics in cartel safe houses. I hit the floodlights. The entire backyard exploded in white light, catching Catherine mid-sprint as she tripped over a garden hose and crashed face first into the wet grass. Havoc stood over her, teeth bared, body rigid while she sobbed into the mud. "Please, call him off. I didn't mean to..." "You didn't mean to poison a federal service dog?" I said, phone already recording. "Or you didn't mean to get caught." Behind her, I could see the neighbors' security cameras aimed at my property. 3 houses had Ring doorbells pointed this direction. This moment, Catherine Sterling, HOA president of Riverbend Estates, breaking into a retired DEA agent's home to murder his K-9 partner, was being captured from 6 different angles. Welcome to Texas, where the HOA Karens are bold, the laws are real, and retired drug dogs don't forget how to hunt. My name is Thomas Blake. I'm 54 years old, spent 22 years with the DEA, and thought I'd finally earned some peace. Turns out, the most dangerous enemy I'd ever face wouldn't be a cartel lieutenant or a meth cook. It would be a woman in a crimson blazer who thought a clipboard meant authority. And she was about to learn why you don't mess with a man whose best friend can smell lies. Let me back up 6 months. When I retired from the DEA in March 2024, I had 2 goals: find a quiet place to live and give Havoc the retirement he deserved. Havoc wasn't just any K-9. He was a legend. 8 years detecting narcotics, 347 successful finds, $180 million in seized drugs. 2 Purple Hearts, yes, they give those to dogs. After taking shrapnel protecting my team during a raid in El Paso, he'd earned his rest. So when I found a 3-bedroom ranch house in Riverbend Estates, a gated community 40 miles west of Austin in the Texas Hill Country, I thought I'd found paradise. Tree-lined streets, limestone walls, hills rolling green under big sky, the kind of place where your biggest worry should be deer eating your garden. Havoc loved it immediately. He spent mornings patrolling the fence line, afternoons stretched across the porch, and evenings watching armadillos waddle past like tiny armored tanks. For 3 weeks, everything was perfect. Then Catherine Sterling knocked on my door. She arrived exactly the way HOA presidents always do: smile first, clipboard second, ultimatum third. "Welcome to Riverbend," she chirped, extending a manicured hand. Behind her, a white BMW SUV gleamed in my driveway. She wore a tailored crimson blazer over a black silk V-neck, red heels that had no business on gravel, and enough jewelry to fund a small cartel. "I'm Catherine Sterling, HOA president. Just wanted to introduce myself and go over a few guidelines." I shook her hand. "Thomas Blake. And this is Havoc." Havoc sat at perfect heel beside me, watching her with those amber eyes that had stared down armed drug runners without blinking. Catherine's smile faltered. "Oh, that's a large dog. Belgian Malinois, retired federal K-9. I see. She consulted her clipboard. Well, Mr. Blake, we have breed restrictions here. Dogs over 50 pounds require special approval, and aggressive breeds. He's not a breed, he's a federal service animal, protected under ADA and federal law. Her jaw tightened. Of course, but we do have noise ordinances. Barking after 9 p.m. is strictly, he doesn't bark, he's trained not to. And that structure? She pointed at the custom kennel I'd built 8x 10 feet, insulated, climate controlled, nicer than most studio apartments. That's his quarters. Also protected under service animal accommodation laws. Catherine's smile had completely evaporated. Mr. Blake, I appreciate your service, but Riverbend has standards. Everyone follows the rules, no exceptions. Even for federal law? Especially for that. She handed me a packet. Here are our community guidelines. I expect full compliance within 30 days. And she click-clacked back to her BMW, leaving me standing there with 47 pages of regulations that apparently governed everything from mailbox height to the acceptable shade of beige for exterior paint. Havoc watched her go, tail still, ears forward. Yeah, buddy, I muttered. I smell trouble too. The first violation notice arrived 3 days later. Notice of non-compliance. Unauthorized structure. Dog. Kennel. Violates section 12.4b. No outbuildings visible from street. $500. Compliance deadline. 14 days. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. The kennel was in my backyard. You couldn't see it from the street unless you trespassed onto my property. I filed it in a folder labeled HOA Insanity and ignored it. The second notice came 4 days later. Noise violation. Excessive dog barking reported 11:47 p.m. April 3rd, Havoc hadn't barked once. He was trained for silent alerts, a skill that kept us alive during covert raids. But Catherine Sterling didn't care about facts. She cared about control. Over the next month, the notices piled up. Mailbox, wrong, shade of bronze, $250 fine. Grass, 0.5 inches too tall, $150 fine. Porch light, too bright and disruptive, $200 fine. Vehicle parked in driveway overnight, $300 fine, my own driveway. Each one signed. Regards, Catherine Sterling, HOA President, Riverbend Estates. I started documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, copies of federal service animal laws. But I also started noticing other things, like how Catherine's husband, Richard Sterling, ran a logistics company called Sterling Transport Solutions from a warehouse near the highway. Like how his truck's big white semis with no company logos came and went at odd hours. Like how Havoc's nose would twitch every time one passed, his body going rigid in that specific way. That meant chemical scent detected. I'd seen that reaction 10,000 times in my career. It always meant one thing: drugs. But I was retired. Not my problem, not my jurisdiction. Or so I thought. Then came the day Catherine held an emergency HOA meeting in the community clubhouse. The agenda emailed to all residents. Dangerous animal concerns. Vote required. I showed up with Havoc at perfect heel, both of us calm and professional. Catherine stood at the front in a navy pantsuit, projecting photos of Havoc on a screen like he was a wanted fugitive. This animal, she declared to the 40-odd residents packed into folding chairs, poses a clear and present danger to our community. The photos showed Havoc mid-bark teeth visible, captured from the one time he'd alerted to a rattlesnake near the playground. German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, I corrected from the back. She glared. Are statistically responsible for attacks. We need to vote on removal or mandatory restrictions. An elderly woman raised her hand. But isn't he a service dog? That doesn't override community safety, Catherine snapped. I stood. Actually, it does. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act and Federal Service Animal Protections, you can't restrict him. Period. Catherine's face flushed. We'll see what animal control says. Feel free to call them. they'll tell you the same thing I just did. Her husband, Richard, a stocky man with slicked back hair and the dead-eyed stare of someone used to intimidation, stood from the front row. "Maybe," he said slowly, "your dog would be happier somewhere else, somewhere with fewer rules." It wasn't a suggestion, it was a threat. Beside, Richard sat his younger brother, Marcus, twitchy, tattooed, the kind of guy who looks like he's one bad decision away from a felony. The three of them, Catherine, Richard, Marcus, formed a perfect triangle of menace, and Havoc noticed. His ears swiveled toward them, his nose lifted, sampling the air. Then he did something he'd only done twice in 8 years. He gave the triple alert, 3 short, controlled barks. That was his signal for high concentration narcotics detected. Immediate proximity. Every head turned. Catherine's face went white. "Control that beast!" she shrieked. But Havoc wasn't out of control. He was doing his job. And he'd just told me that someone in this room was carrying drugs. That night, I found my gate unlatched. Not broken, just open. Havoc sat at the threshold, staring into the yard, hackles raised. On the grass, 3 feet from the door, a hamburger patty, half eaten by ants. Havoc hadn't touched it. I bagged it, stored it in the freezer, and called an old friend at the county toxicology lab. The results came back 48 hours later. Ethylene glycol, antifreeze concentration, lethal to canines. Estimated time to death if ingested, 2 to 6 hours. Someone had tried to poison my dog. And I had a pretty good idea who. From that moment, I stopped being retired. I installed cameras, thermal, night vision, motion-activated lights, GPS tracker on Havoc's collar, reinforced locks. I treated my home like a crime scene because someone was turning it into one. Catherine noticed. Of course she did. Paranoid, are we? She called one morning as I installed another camera. "Prepared," I said. She smiled that cold, brittle smile. Some dogs just don't belong in civilized neighborhoods. Havoc, lying on the porch, lifted his head and stared at her. She flinched and hurried away. That night, I reviewed the footage, and I saw something that made my blood run cold. At 2:47 a.m., a figure in a silk robe crept through my yard, carrying a flashlight and a plastic bag. Catherine Sterling, sprinkling white powder on a steak, sliding it inside my back door, whispering something I couldn't hear. Then Havoc moved. Silent, controlled. The way he'd approached armed suspects 100 times before. One growl low, lethal, and Catherine froze. The rest, you already know. But what you don't know yet is why. Why would an HOA president risk everything to kill a dog? The answer was buried in Richard Sterling's warehouse. And it would take a federal raid to dig it out, because Catherine Sterling wasn't just a Karen with a clipboard. She was the wife of a drug trafficker, the bookkeeper of a criminal empire. And the woman who thought murdering a retired DEA K-9 would silence the only witness who could smell the truth. She thought wrong. The morning after I caught Catherine poisoning Havoc, Riverbend Estates woke to sirens. Sheriff's deputies. Travis County. Then, because I'd made one phone call to my old unit DEA agents in tactical vests, Catherine sat in the back of a patrol car, silk robe replaced with handcuffs, mascara streaking down her face as she screamed, "This is harassment! That dog attacked me!" No one was listening. Because by 8 a.m., they'd found the evidence. The poisoned steak, bagged, labeled, tested, strychnine, lab grade, lethal concentration, video footage, 6 angles, time-stamped, Catherine breaking into my home, toxicology report the hamburger from a week earlier, antifreeze, same batch isotopes as chemicals found in Sterling transport warehouse. But here's where it got interesting. When the deputies searched Catherine's car legally, with probable cause, they found a receipt from a chemical supply company. Purchase date, 3 weeks ago. Item, 5 liters industrial-grade ethylene glycol. Signature, Richard Sterling. The same Richard Sterling whose trucks I'd been watching. Whose company had no visible clients. whose brother Marcus had that twitchy, paranoid energy of someone living on borrowed time. Special Agent Laura Reyes, my old partner from the DEA's San Antonio field office, showed up around noon. She was 10 years younger than me, twice as sharp, and the only person I'd trust to walk into a cartel safe house unarmed. "Blake," she said, shaking her head with a grin. "You retired to suburbia and still managed to find a drug operation." "I didn't find it. Havoc did." She crouched beside him, scratching his ears. "Good boy." "Still got the nose, huh?" Havoc's tail thumped once, high praise from him. Laura stood, pulling out a folder. "We've been watching Sterling transport for 6 months. Suspected of moving precursor chemicals, pseudoephedrine, acetone, lithium batteries used in meth production." "But you couldn't get probable cause." "Exactly. No witnesses, no inside access. Every truck came back clean because they'd offload before inspection points." She smiled. "Until now. What changed?" "Your dog. When you called and said Havoc triple alerted at that HOA meeting, that gave us enough for a warrant. We searched the Sterling warehouse last night. And 50 barrels of pseudoephedrine extraction solvent, 20 kilos of finished meth. Distribution records linking them to suppliers in Juarez and buyers in Oklahoma." I whistled low. "That's a federal case. That's a RICO case." Richard, Marcus, and Catherine were running a smuggling operation disguised as a logistics company. HOA fees were laundered through fake community improvement invoices. Jesus, it gets better. Or worse, depending how you look at it. Laura pulled out a photo of Catherine at her laptop, spreadsheets visible. She was the accountant, cooked the books, filed fake tax returns, moved money through shell companies. And when Havoc started sniffing around, she panicked, tried to eliminate the threat by killing a federal service dog. Laura's smile turned sharp. "Which is a felony under 18 U.S.C. Section 1368, 5 years mandatory. Plus, attempted destruction of federal property, trespassing, animal cruelty. She's looking at a decade, at minimum." I looked at Catherine in the patrol car. She was no longer screaming, just staring at nothing, broken. "What about Richard and Marcus?" "Richard's in custody, lawyered up immediately. Marcus ran. My pulse quickened. Ran where? Unknown. But Blake?" Laura met my eyes. "He's armed, desperate, and he knows Havoc's the reason this fell apart. If he comes back, we'll be ready." She nodded. "I'm stationing a deputy here tonight." "And Blake?" "Keep that dog close." As if I'd ever do anything else. That night, Havoc wouldn't settle. He paced the living room, ears swiveling at every sound. His nose worked constantly, sampling air, detecting threats. At 11:34 p.m., he froze. Stared at the back fence. Gave one low growl. I grabbed my sidearm and checked the cameras. Movement. Back corner. Someone cutting through the neighbor's yard. The deputy stationed outside was asleep in his cruiser, exhausted from a double shift. I didn't wake him. This was personal. I slipped out the side door, Havoc at heel, moving through shadows like we'd done 1,000 times in cartel territory. The figure reached my fence and started climbing. Marcus Sterling, hoodie up. Crowbar in hand, he dropped into my yard and whispered, "Here, puppy. Nice puppy." Havoc didn't move, didn't make a sound. Marcus crept toward the back door, reaching for the handle. That's when I spoke. "I wouldn't." He spun, crowbar raised. I had my gun leveled at his chest. "Drop it. You ruined everything." Marcus spat. "That dog, that fucking dog, saved lives, did his job, just like he's about to do again. I'll kill." Havoc moved, faster than thought. One leap, jaws clamping onto Marcus's forearm, not to injure, to control. Marcus screamed, dropping the crowbar. The deputy woke, came running, and within 2 minutes Marcus was cuffed and sobbing in the back of the cruiser. "He bit me! That dog's vicious!" The deputy looked at Havoc, sitting calmly at my side, then at Marcus's arm, bruised but not bleeding, controlled bite, textbook apprehension. "Sir, that's the most professional takedown I've ever seen from a K9. You're lucky he didn't rip your arm off." As they drove Marcus away, Laura pulled up. That's 3 sterlings in custody in 12 hours. Blake, you're making us look bad. I laughed. Havoc did all the work. She crouched, looked him in the eyes. You know, the DEA's been wanting to start a K9 memorial program. Havoc should be the first honoree. He's not dead. I mean, a living legend tribute. Speaking tours, training demonstrations, show people what a real hero looks like. Havoc yawned. I'll take that as a maybe, Laura said. Over the next few days, the full story emerged. Sterling Transport Solutions had been moving precursor chemicals for a cartel-linked meth operation based in Juarez. Richard handled logistics. Marcus handled enforcement. Catherine laundered money through fake HOA expenses. When Havoc trained to detect narcotics moved into Riverbend, Catherine panicked. She knew what a DEA K9 could do. Knew that one alert could bring federal attention, so she tried to eliminate the threat, first with poison, then with political pressure through the HOA, finally with strychnine-laced meat. Each attempt pushed her deeper into federal charges. By the time the DEA finished its investigation, Richard Sterling, 25 years federal prison, drug trafficking conspiracy, Marcus Sterling, 15 years, assault on federal officer, Havoc, attempted murder of federal asset, Catherine Sterling, 12 years, money laundering, attempted destruction of federal property, animal cruelty. The HOA dissolved. A new board formed normal people who cared about neighborhoods, not control. And me? I stayed in Riverbend, fixed the fence, planted a garden, watched Havoc stretch in the sun every morning. Retired for real this time. One afternoon, Laura stopped by with a package. From the DEA administrator, she said. Inside, a medal, engraved with Havoc's name and the words, for valor, service, and saving countless lives. Havoc sniffed it once, unimpressed. He doesn't care about medals. I said, I know, but we do. Laura smiled. Also, there's a documentary crew coming next week. 60 Minutes wants to feature him. Absolutely not, Blake. Laura, he's retired. Let him be a dog. She sighed. Fine, but can I at least bring my niece by? She wants to meet him. That I can do. A week later, a little girl named Sophia, 6 years old, pigtails, missing front tooth, sat on my porch while Havoc let her brush his fur. Is he really a hero? She asked. The best one I know, I said. Did he catch bad guys? Hundreds. And he saved you? I looked at Havoc, scarred, graying, eyes still sharp, every single day. Sophia hugged him. He tolerated it with the patience of a saint. After she left, Laura lingered. You know, she said, Catherine wrote you a letter from prison. I don't want to read it. She says she's sorry, that she was desperate, that Richard threatened her if she didn't help. And I think she's lying. The forensic accountant found her name on shell company LLCs dating back 5 years. She wasn't coerced. She was complicit. I nodded. Some people can't admit what they've become. You ever regret retiring? I looked at Havoc, snoozing in a sunbeam. Not once. Even after all this chaos? Especially after... Because now I know, peace isn't the absence of danger. It's knowing you can handle danger when it comes. Laura smiled. That's very zen. That's very tired. She left laughing. That night, as the sun set over the Texas hills, I sat on the porch with Havoc. No HOA notices, no clipboards. No Catherine Sterling threatening my dog. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you earn. We did good, buddy, I said. Havoc's tail thumped once. And somewhere in the distance, an armadillo waddled past, blissfully unaware that the neighborhood was safe because a retired drug dog refused to let evil smell like anything other than what it was. 6 months later, Riverbend Estates had transformed. The new HOA board, led by a retired school teacher named Margaret Chin, actually read the bylaws and discovered half of Catherine's rules were completely fabricated. Turns out, you can park in your own driveway. You can have a dog over 50 pounds. And no, the HOA cannot fine you for having the wrong shade of beige. Margaret knocked on my door one afternoon with a basket of homemade cookies. "Mr. Blake, on behalf of the community, I wanted to apologize for how you were treated. Not your fault. Still, Catherine weaponized the HOA against anyone who didn't submit. You were just the first one brave enough to fight back." "I didn't fight back. Havoc did." She smiled. "Then thank him for me." As word spread about what Catherine had done, not just to me, but to the dozens of families she'd fined, bullied, and threatened, something beautiful happened. People started talking, sharing stories. Mrs. Rodriguez had been fined $800 for planting roses instead of approved shrubs. The Johnsons were threatened with foreclosure over a mailbox that was 2 inches too tall. The Patels faced a lien because their daughter's birthday decoration stayed up 1 day past the approved celebration window. Every family had a Catherine Sterling horror story, and every one of them wished they'd stood up to her the way I had. "You gave us permission to say no," Margaret told me. "That matters more than you know." But not everyone was grateful. 3 weeks after the Sterling's arrest, I got a letter. Not from Catherine, from her mother, a woman named Eleanor Sterling, dripping with old Texas oil money and enough bitterness to poison a well. "Mr. Blake, you destroyed my daughter's life over a DOG. Catherine was protecting her community from a dangerous animal, and you used your federal connections to ruin her. I've hired the best lawyers in Texas. We will appeal. We will sue for defamation, and we will make sure you and that beast pay for what you've done. You haven't won. You've just delayed the inevitable. Sincerely, Eleanor Sterling." I showed it to Laura over coffee. She read it, snorted, and tossed it back. "Let her try. Catherine was caught on 6 cameras breaking into your home to poison a federal K-9. The evidence is ironclad." "But Eleanor has money, and we have facts." "Money doesn't rewrite video footage." She was right. Eleanor's lawyers filed appeals. All denied. She tried to sue me in civil court. Dismissed with prejudice. She even contacted the local news, claiming Havoc was dangerous and should be euthanized. The news station ran a segment titled, "Hero K-9 Faces Threats from Convicted Drug Trafficker's Family." Public opinion buried Eleanor so fast, she retreated to her estate and hasn't been heard from since. Meanwhile, Havoc became a local celebrity. Kids asked to pet him at the park. The mayor gave him a key to the city. He ate it. A brewery named a beer after him. Havoc's Howl IPA, brewed with justice. I tried to keep life normal, but normal had a new definition now. One Saturday, a man in his 30s approached me at the farmer's market. "Mr. Blake?" "I'm Sergeant Danny Cruz, Austin PD K-9 unit." We shook hands. I heard about Havoc, about what he did, and I wanted to ask, would you consider consulting for our department? Training handlers? Sharing techniques? I'm retired, I know, but you've got 22 years of experience. That's knowledge we can't afford to lose. I thought about it. Looked down at Havoc, who was ignoring a yappy chihuahua with the patience of a Zen master. Let me think about it. A week later, I said yes. Not full-time, just a few hours a month. Teaching young handlers how to read their dogs, how to trust instincts over protocol, how to recognize when a K-9 is telling you something the evidence hasn't yet. Havoc came with me to the first session. 15 handlers, 15 dogs, all watching as I demonstrated the alert progression, the sequence of behaviors a trained K-9 uses to indicate narcotics. Havoc performed flawlessly. Ear twitch, nose lift, controlled bark, sit and stare. Every dog has a language. I told them, your job isn't to command, it's to listen. One handler raised her hand. What if the dog alerts but we don't find anything? Then you didn't look hard enough. Or the sense residual. Either way, trust the dog. After the session, several handlers thanked me. You made it make sense. One said, my trainer just yelled commands. You explained why. It felt good. Teaching. Passing on knowledge. And for the first time since retiring, I felt like I had a purpose beyond just existing. But the past wasn't done with me yet. 3 months after Catherine's conviction, I got a call from a blocked number. Thomas Blake? Who's asking? Someone who knows what you did. My pulse quickened. I'm hanging up. Havoc's a dead dog walking. The line went dead. I immediately called Laura. Threat logged, she said. I'll trace the number. In the meantime, I'm not worried. Blake Laura. I've been threatened by cartel hitmen with sniper rifles. A prank call from someone mad about the Sterlings doesn't scare me. Still, be careful. I was. But it wasn't me they came for. It was Havoc. 2 weeks later, I took him to the vet for his annual checkup. Routine. Simple. Drop him off at 9 a.m., pick him up at noon. Except, when I arrived at noon, the vet looked pale. Mr. Blake, we need to talk. My stomach dropped. What happened? Someone tried to access Havoc while he was in recovery? A woman claiming to be your wife? I'm not married. I know. That's why we called the police. Havoc was fine, sedated but safe, but the woman had fled before officers arrived. The vet's security footage showed her 30s, blonde wig, oversized sunglasses, but when we enhanced the image, I recognized the walk. Eleanor Sterling, Catherine's mother. She'd tried to access Havoc, probably to harm him, claim it was medical malpractice, and sue the vet into silence. When that failed, she tried something worse. A week later, Poison Control called. Someone had reported seeing a suspicious package left at my front door. Bomb squad cleared it. Not explosives, rat poison, high dose. Wrapped in a T-bone steak, the note read, "Some dogs deserve to die." Fingerprints came back. Eleanor Sterling. She was arrested that night. Charged with attempted animal cruelty, stalking, and violating a restraining order I'd filed after the vet incident. At her arraignment, she screamed, "That beast destroyed my family. He deserves to suffer." The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Torres, looked at her coldly. "Mrs. Sterling, your daughter tried to poison a federal service dog. Your son-in-law trafficked drugs. Your nephew assaulted a retired agent. The only beast in this story is your family." Eleanor got 6 months in county jail, probation, mandatory psychiatric evaluation, and a permanent restraining order keeping her 500 feet from me and Havoc. When Laura told me, I felt nothing. Not triumph, not relief, just exhaustion. She's obsessed. Laura said, convinced that if Havoc hadn't been there, Catherine would have gotten away with everything. She's right. He would have. Blake, you realize this could have gone very differently if Havoc hadn't alerted, but he did. That's what he does. Laura smiled. Still trusting the dog over everything. Hasn't failed me yet. By the time summer arrived, Riverbend Estates felt like an actual community again. Block parties, kids playing, dogs walking freely. Catherine Sterling's reign of terror had ended, and in its place grew something better. Respect without fear. But the transformation wasn't instant, and it wasn't without cost. Especially for me. Because here's what nobody tells you about catching criminals. There's always a moment when you look at the wreckage you've caused and wonder if you went too far. That moment came 3 months after Catherine's arrest, on a Tuesday afternoon when I received a letter postmarked from the Federal Detention Center in Bastrop. The return address said, Catherine Sterling, inmate #height 473 Nenetu. I almost threw it away, but something curiosity, maybe, or guilt I didn't want to admit made me open it. Asterisk, Mr. Blake, you won. I'm writing this from a cell where I'll spend the next 12 years. My husband won't speak to me. My mother blames me for everything. My friends, if I ever had any, have vanished. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know, I wasn't always this person. 10 years ago, Richard was a legitimate truck driver. We had a normal life. Then he got involved with people who promised easy money. When I found out, I was terrified. But I was also trapped. He said if I didn't help, if I didn't launder the money through the HOA, they'd kill us both. I should have gone to the police. I should have left. But I was a coward. And when your dog started sniffing around, I panicked. I thought if I could just make him go away, everything would be okay. I was wrong. About everything. I'm not asking for pity. I'm just asking you to know I'm not a monster. I'm just someone who made terrible choices. I'm sorry, Catherine. Asterisk, I read it 3 times. Then I called Laura. She wrote, "You?" Laura sounded surprised. "Blake, you know that's manipulation, right? Prison letters are always, I know what they are. I've received 100 of them from suspects trying to reduce sentences. Then why call me?" I hesitated, because this one feels different. Blake, Laura, when we busted the Juarez cartel, how many people did we arrest? 43. And how many of them were just stuck? Spouses who got pulled in, kids who didn't know any better, people who weren't evil, just trapped? Silence. "At least half," she finally said. "So what if Catherine's telling the truth? What if Richard threatened her? What if she poisoned Havoc because she was terrified? Then she should have called the police and said, 'What? My husband's a drug trafficker? With no evidence? No protection?' Laura, you know what cartels do to witnesses." Another pause. "Blake, where's this going?" "I don't know. I can't stop thinking about her sitting in that cell for 12 years because she made one desperate, stupid decision. She tried to kill your dog. I know. A federal K-9. Your partner. Your best friend. I know." We sat in silence. Finally, Laura said quietly, "You're having second thoughts. Wouldn't you?" "No, because I've seen what these operations do. The kids who OD. The families destroyed. Catherine wasn't just a bookkeeper, she enabled millions in drug distribution. But she's not Richard, she's not Marcus. No, she's the person who made their empire possible." I didn't have an answer for that. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Catherine's letter. About the woman in the silk robe who'd tried to poison Havoc. About the scared look in her eyes when she realized she'd been caught. Was she a monster? Or just someone who'd made a deal with monsters to survive? I didn't know, and that uncertainty ate at me. Around 2 a.m., Havoc woke me by pressing his nose into my hand, a gesture he only made when he sensed distress. I scratched his ears. "I'm okay, buddy." He didn't believe me. Neither did I. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done since retiring. I called my old therapist. "Doctor." Sarah Chen had helped me process 2 decades of trauma, raids gone wrong, partners killed, the constant weight of knowing one mistake could get someone killed. "Thomas," she said warmly, "it's been a while." "I know. I thought I was done with therapy." "No one's ever done. What's going on?" I told her everything. The poisoning, the arrest, the letter. And now I finished. I can't stop wondering if I destroyed an innocent woman's life. Innocent? Wrong word. Complicit, maybe, but not evil. Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. "Thomas, do you remember what we talked about after the Hernandez raid?" I remembered. Miguel Hernandez, a low-level courier who'd gotten caught in a DEA sting, sentenced to 15 years. His wife and 2 kids left with nothing. "You told me I wasn't responsible for his choices." "And you said?" "I said I knew that, but it didn't stop me from feeling like I'd ruined his family." "Exactly. Thomas, you're a good man. That's your strength and your weakness. You see the humanity in everyone, even people who've done terrible things. So what do? You accept that you can be right and still feel guilty. Catherine made choices. Terrible ones. But you didn't force her hand. She did that herself." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Thanks, Doc. Anytime." "And Thomas? Give Havoc a treat for me." I hung up feeling slightly better, but the doubt didn't fully leave. A week later, something happened that forced me to confront it head on. I was at the grocery store when a woman approached, late 50s, tired eyes, carrying a worn purse. "Mr. Blake?" "Yes?" "I'm Diane Jensen. Catherine Sterling's mother's sister." She saw me tense. "I'm not here to threaten you. I wanted you to know something. Ma'am, Catherine called me last night. From prison. She said she wrote you a letter. I didn't confirm or deny. She told me what she did to your dog, how you caught her, how she deserves everything that happened. Mrs. Jensen, please, let me finish. Her voice cracked. Catherine's not a bad person. She's always been weak, scared. When Richard started getting involved with those people, she should have left. But she didn't, and I'll never forgive her for that. Then why are you here? Because I saw what Eleanor's been doing, the threats, the harassment. And I wanted you to know, not all of us are like that. Some of us are just ashamed. She handed me a folded piece of paper. This is a letter from Catherine's daughter, Emily. She's 16. Hasn't spoken to her mother since the arrest. I unfolded it. Asterisk. Mr. Blake. I don't know if you'll read this, but I wanted to say thank you. My mom tried to kill your dog. That's unforgivable. But she also protected me from my dad for years. When he got violent, she'd take the hits, so I wouldn't. I'm not saying that excuses what she did. It doesn't. I just wanted you to know she's not only the person you saw that night, she's also the mom who sat with me in the hospital when I had pneumonia, who taught me to read, who told me I could be anything. I hate her for what she did, but I also miss her. I don't know what I'm asking for. Maybe just to remember she's human. Emily Sterling, asterisk. I folded the letter carefully. Diane wiped her eyes. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. No. Thank you for sharing this. She nodded and walked away, leaving me standing in the produce aisle with a head full of thoughts I couldn't organize. That night, I sat on the porch with Havoc and reread Emily's letter. What do you think, buddy? Havoc looked at me with those amber eyes, calm, steady, non-judgmental. Dogs don't do moral ambiguity. They see threats or non-threats, danger or safety. Humans are messier. I thought about Catherine's letter, Emily's letter, the 12 years Catherine would spend in prison. And I realized something. I could be right about stopping a criminal operation and still feel empathy for the collateral damage. Those things weren't mutually exclusive. Catherine had made terrible choices. She'd tried to kill Havoc. She'd enabled drug trafficking. But she was also someone's mother, someone's daughter, someone who'd been trapped in a nightmare and made the worst possible decisions to survive. That didn't excuse her actions, but it made them understandable. I pulled out my phone and drafted an email to Catherine's public defender. I'm not asking for her sentence to be reduced. What she did was wrong. But if there's an opportunity for her to participate in therapy or rehabilitation programs, I'll support that. She made terrible choices, but she's not beyond redemption. Thomas Blake, I hit send before I could second guess myself. Laura called the next morning, voice tight. Blake, did you just write a letter supporting Catherine Sterling's rehabilitation? How did you? Her lawyer forwarded to the prosecutor, who called me, who's now asking if you've lost your mind. Maybe I have. Thomas, Laura, I'm not saying she should walk free. I'm saying she should have a chance to become better than she was. Silence. You're too good for this job, Laura finally said. I'm not in this job anymore. No, but you're still thinking like you are. She sighed. Look, I get it. I do. But Blake, don't lose sleep over someone who tried to murder your partner. I'm not losing sleep. I'm just trying to be human. You were always too human for the DEA. After we hung up, I looked at Havoc. You think I'm crazy? He licked my hand. I took that as a no. 3 weeks later, I got another letter, this time from Catherine's lawyer. Mr. Blake, your email made a difference. The judge agreed to allow Catherine to participate in a prison rehabilitation program focused on domestic violence survivors. It won't reduce her sentence, but it gives her tools to understand why she made the choices she did. She asked me to tell you, thank you, and she's sorry. David Ortiz, public defender. I pinned that letter on my fridge, next to Havoc's medal, not as a trophy. as a reminder that justice and mercy aren't opposites, they're partners. Just like me and the dog who saved my life by refusing to let poison smell like anything other than what it was. 8 months after Catherine's conviction, Havoc started slowing down. Not dramatically, just subtle shifts. He took longer to stand after naps. His morning patrol of the fence line shortened from 15 minutes to 5. And one afternoon, he refused to jump into the truck, something he'd done effortlessly for 8 years. I took him to the vet immediately. Dr. Patricia Nguyen, a woman who'd treated military and police K9S for 20 years, examined him thoroughly. When she emerged from the back room, her face was gentle but serious. Thomas Havoc's hips are showing signs of dysplasia. It's common in working dogs his age, especially ones with his service history. My stomach dropped. How bad? Not severe yet, but it will progress. He's also got some early arthritis in his shoulders, likely from the shrapnel injuries in El Paso. Can we treat it? Pain management, anti-inflammatories, physical therapy. But Thomas, she met my eyes. He's 11 years old. He's had a full, intense career. His body's telling us it's time to slow down. I nodded, throat tight. How long? With care? Several good years. But his working days are over. No more jumping. No more long runs. Just rest. I drove home in silence, Havoc sitting in the passenger seat, staring out the window like he always did. When we got home, I sat on the porch and just watched him. The way he moved, still strong, but careful now. The gray spreading across his muzzle, the slight hitch in his back leg. For 8 years, he'd been invincible. Now he was mortal. That night, Laura stopped by with beer. Heard about the diagnosis, she said quietly. News travels fast. K9, community's small. Everyone who worked with Havoc cares about him. We sat in silence for a while. You okay? She finally asked. No, but I will be. He's a legend, Blake. He'll be remembered. I don't want him remembered. I want him here. She put a hand on my shoulder. Then love him while he is. Over the next few months, I adjusted everything. Built a ramp for the porch. Bought an orthopedic bed. Started shorter, slower walks. Havoc didn't complain. He never did. But I could see it in his eyes. The frustration of a body that wouldn't keep up with his mind anymore. One afternoon, as we sat by the creek that ran through Riverbend, Havoc tried to chase a rabbit, something he'd done effortlessly for years. He made it 3 steps before his hip gave out and he stumbled. I rushed over, but he was already standing, shaking it off, looking at me like, I'm fine. But we both knew he wasn't. That night, I called Doctor Chen again. I'm watching him die, I said. He's not dying, Thomas. He's aging. It feels the same. I know, but you've got time. Don't waste it. Mourning what's coming. Celebrate what's here. She was right. So I started doing things differently. Instead of training sessions, we did nosework games, hiding treats around the yard so Havoc could use his incredible nose without straining his body. Instead of long hikes, we did car rides to scenic overlooks where we'd just sit and watch the world. Instead of pushing him to be the K9 he'd been, I let him be the dog he was becoming. And you know what? He was happy. Not because he was working, but because he was loved. One Saturday, the Austin PDK 9 unit invited us to a demonstration not for Havoc to perform, but to be honored. 15 K9 teams lined up while the sergeant read Havoc's service record. 347 narcotics fines, $180 million in seized drugs, 2 Purple Hearts, and 1 act of heroism that exposed a federal drug operation and saved countless lives. They presented him with a custom vest retired, embroidered with his name and service years. Havoc sat proudly while they fitted it, tail wagging slowly. Afterward, young handlers approached, asking questions. How'd you build trust with him? How'd you know when to listen to his alerts? What's the secret to a great K9 partnership? I thought about it. There's no secret, I said. You just love them, respect them, and trust that they know things you don't. One handler, a rookie named Officer Ramirez, knelt beside Havoc. "He's a hero," she said. "No," I corrected gently. "He's a dog who did his job and happened to be great at it. The hero part? That's just us projecting." Havoc yawned, bored with the attention. Everyone laughed. By the time we got home, Havoc was exhausted. He slept for 14 hours straight, the deep, peaceful sleep of someone who'd given everything and could finally rest. I watched him breathe, chest rising and falling, and realized this was enough. Not the medals, or the recognition, or the legend, just this. A good dog, aging gracefully, surrounded by love. That's what mattered. A year after the Sterling arrests, Riverbend Estates held its first annual Havoc Day, a community celebration honoring service animals. Families brought their dogs, kids made posters, the fire department brought a K9 demo team, and at the center of it all, Havoc, wearing his retired vest, accepting ear scratches from 100 delighted children, Margaret Chen gave a speech. A year ago, this community was ruled by fear. One woman decided who belonged and who didn't, who mattered, and who was a nuisance. But a retired DEA agent and his dog showed us something better. That real strength isn't control, it's integrity. Havoc didn't save us because he was trained to. He saved us because that's who he is. And Thomas Blake didn't fight back because he was angry. He fought back because it was right. This park, this community, is better because they were here. So today, we celebrate not just Havoc, but every service animal who protects without recognition and loves without condition. The crowd erupted in applause. Havoc, oblivious, was trying to steal a hot dog from a kid's plate. I gently redirected him. "Retired doesn't mean you get to steal," I whispered. His tail wagged. He disagreed. That night, as the sun set over the Texas hills and the last families packed up their picnic blankets, Laura and I sat on a bench watching Havoc snooze in the grass. "He's slowing down," she observed. "Yeah. How much longer, you think?" "Don't know. Years, maybe. Or months. Depends on the day. You ready for that?" I thought about it. No, but I'll handle it. Same way I handled everything else. With inappropriate humor and denial? I laughed. "Exactly." She smiled. "He changed this place, Blake. You both did. He did the work. I just followed. That's been your partnership from the start." We sat in comfortable silence as fireflies began to blink in the twilight. Finally, Laura stood. "I gotta go. But Blake, for what it's worth, you made the right call. About Catherine. About mercy. Not everyone would have done that. Maybe I'm just getting soft in my old age. Maybe. Or maybe you finally figured out what justice actually looks like." She left, and I sat there with Havoc, watching stars emerge one by one, thinking about a woman in prison who'd made terrible choices, a daughter who missed her mom, and a community that had learned the difference between rules and respect. Catherine Sterling had tried to poison Havoc because she thought power came from elimination. But real power, the kind that changes communities, comes from choosing mercy when you could choose revenge. I didn't forgive her for what she did, but I understood her, and maybe that was enough. As Havoc stirred, stretching in the grass, I scratched his graying muzzle. "Come on, old man, let's go home." He stood slowly, carefully, and followed me to the truck. And as we drove through Riverbend, past houses where families lived without fear, past the park that bore his name, past the spot where Catherine had once tried to destroy him, I realized something simple. Evil doesn't win when good people fight back. It loses when good people choose to build something better than the thing that tried to break them. Catherine had tried to break us. Instead, we'd built a community. And that legacy, not the arrests or the headlines, was what would last. The water was clean. The poison was gone. And Havoc? He was finally, peacefully, completely retired. Just a good dog who'd saved the world by refusing to let evil smell like anything other than what it was. The end. This is Thomas Blake. signing off from Riverbend Estates, Texas. Where dogs are family, justice is mercy, and HOA Karens learn that clipboards don't beat loyalty. Trust your dog. They smell what you can't see, and sometimes mercy is the bravest thing you can offer.